Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be discussing the American action film Alita, Battle Angel. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. In the year 2563, the world has changed dramatically after a war that took place 3 centuries ago. Society is now divided between those who reside in the elevated city of Zalem, living like gods, and those less fortunate struggling to survive on the ground. Zalem discards its waste onto the people below, prompting many to scavenge for anything valuable that could improve their lives. Among these scavengers is Dr. Dyson Ito, who stumbles upon an intriguing humanoid head amidst the garbage. Taking it home, he endeavors to repair and revive the robotic woman by attaching a brand new body to her. Upon awakening, the girl is amazed to discover her newly functioning limbs. She walks over to a mirror, marveling at her transformed body. Downstairs, she meets Dr. Ito, who expresses joy at her awakening and exhibits deep concern for her well-being. The doctor provides her with nourishment after her long slumber, only to realize that the cyborg has no recollection of her past, not even her own name. To console her, he takes her on a tour of the city, where she quickly notices the colossal floating structure above the people. Filled with curiosity, she expresses her desire to go there immediately. However, Dr. Ito informs her that no one from the lower city is permitted to enter Zalem, a rule that has been in place for 3 centuries. Determined to give her an identity, the doctor names her Alita, a significant name from his own past, signifying someone of great importance to him. While exploring the city, the girl encounters a young man named Hugo, and an instant connection forms between them. Intrigued by her robotic limbs, Hugo offers to give her a tour of the town. He introduces Alita to the city's renowned game, Motorball, and introduces her to his circle of friends. They embark on their first game, and Alita rapidly grasps the techniques, swiftly maneuvering across the stadium. With her newfound skills, she surprises everyone by not only stealing the ball from an opponent but also knocking him to the ground in the process. Seizing the opportunity, Alita effortlessly scores a point, eliciting cheers from the crowd. Hugo, astonished by her abilities, suggests that she should consider participating in the actual motorball game in the future. He then takes her to a cherished spot, a vantage point offering a panoramic view of the entire city. Alita is captivated by the sight, but Hugo informs her that the true spectacle lies in the sky above. He confides in her that his ultimate aspiration is to reach Zalem, and he is determined to do whatever it takes to turn his dream into reality. Unable to sleep, Alita's mind is still consumed by thoughts of her time with Hugo. However, she notices Dr. Ito leaving the house with a sizable suitcase. Curiosity piqued, she decides to clandestinely track his whereabouts. To her surprise, she witnesses Ito preparing to attack an unsuspecting woman by ambushing her from behind a wall. Alita intervenes immediately, preventing Ito from committing the act of murder. Strangely, the woman mysteriously vanishes without a trace. Gradually, a large man emerges, referring to Ito as a hunter-warrior, further bewildering Alita. Suddenly, another individual, resembling the Joker, descends from a rooftop, instigating threats towards both Alita and the doctor. In a fierce battle, the doctor launches an assault on the cyborg, successfully severing one of his arms. However, his adversary retaliates swiftly, knocking Ito to the ground. Unexpectedly, Alita springs forward, leaping at the enemy and delivering a powerful kick that brings him down. She relentlessly pummels him with punches until he is incapacitated. Astonishingly, the woman from earlier reappears, disclosing her true identity as another assassin. Wielding her deadly blades, she launches a desperate attack on Alita, intent on slicing her into pieces. With lightning-quick reflexes, Alita counters the assassin's charge, propelling her forcefully into the wall with a powerful kick. Closing in on her fallen opponent, Alita lands a devastating head kick, instantly breaking the woman's neck, her lifeless body collapsing to the ground. Meanwhile, the colossal man discloses his true form as a giant machine, attempting to strike Alita with immense power. Yet, the agile girl skillfully evades his attacks, leaping onto the ceiling. Locking eyes with her colossal foe, Alita prepares to strike, descending with a devastating kick that severs the man's arm in a single blow. Seizing Dr. Ito's hammer, she continues to pummel the giant machine, driving him backward and compelling him to retreat into the depths of the sewers. Alita accompanies the doctor to the collection center, where he explains that rather than relying on the police, factories hire bounty hunters to eliminate listed criminals. The girl ponders the man's dangerous involvement and questions his motivations. Ito reveals that he had a daughter, whom Alita is named after, who was tragically murdered by a dangerous criminal. Ever since that fateful day, Ito has been driven by an unyielding desire to find and bring the responsible individual to justice. This relentless pursuit for vengeance was also the cause of his wife Chiron leaving their marriage. Meanwhile, Chiron, Ito's ex-wife, is engaging in seductive tactics to win the favor of a man named Victor, as she desperately seeks to return to her original home in Zalem. However, Victor offers only vague promises, demanding better fighters for the motorball game he oversees. As Chiron rises from the bed, she catches sight of an individual outside her window, sparking her curiosity. Suddenly, a colossal man forcefully breaks into Chiron's room, crashing onto the floor. Revealing himself as Grushka, the criminal discloses that he works for Chiron's lover, Victor, and herself. Grushka informs Chiron that Ito has taken in a robot girl who single-handedly decimated their entire team. Determined to salvage the situation, Chiron rushes to repair the damaged cyborg. However, the colossal man quickly becomes possessed by a greater power, speaking through him to address Dr. Ito. Recognizing the voice as Nova, a formidable figure from Zalem, Victor and Chiron are commanded to eliminate the girl and deliver her body for experimentation. Nova also seizes control over Chiron, promising to facilitate her return to the Flying City if she obediently follows his future directives. In the midst of the motorball game, Alita witnesses the intense battles where fighters fiercely compete for control of the ball, ruthlessly destroying one another in the process. She discovers that by consistently defeating opponents, one can become the ultimate champion, earning the opportunity to ascend to Zalem. However, before their conversation can continue, Hugo's friends urgently arrive and inform him of an urgent matter. Reluctantly bidding farewell to Alita, Hugo hastens away. Shortly thereafter, a group of individuals attacks one of the prominent motorball champions, taking him hostage within their vehicle and forcibly removing his weapon. To Alita's shock, she realizes that the leader of the gang is none other than Hugo, who also works under Victor, providing weapons in exchange for monetary gain. Leaving the motorball player's body with Victor, the revelation comes that he is adamant about preventing anyone from becoming the final champion and reaching Zalem. The following day, Hugo leads Alita away from the city, embarking on a journey into the countryside. Eventually, they arrive at a lakeside where a massive warship looms. The warship belongs to the United Republic of Mars, the same faction that had attacked Zalem during the war 3 centuries ago. Alita senses a deep connection with the ship and impulsively jumps into the water, driven by the hope that it may unveil the truth about her past. Successfully gaining entry into the ship, she eventually discovers herself in the weapons room, where her gaze falls upon a metallic body, evoking a powerful and inexplicable mental bond within her. Moments later, Alita manages to bring the metallic body outside, where her friends gaze at her in astonishment. Fueled by her determination, Alita expresses her desire for Dr. Ito to merge her with the new technology, believing it will empower her to confront any future threats they may face. However, Ito immediately rejects her plea, revealing that Alita is originally a Martian berserker designed to bring destruction to Earth during the war. He refuses to unite her with the body, fearing the reactivation of her previous programming. Heartbroken by the doctor's lack of trust and refusal to assist her, Alita resolves to set out on her own, determined to find her own path in this journey. Undeterred, the girl heads to the collection center and applies to become a bounty hunter. Alongside Hugo, she rushes into a local bar where fellow hunters have gathered, seeking their assistance against Grushka. However, her plea is met with scorn, as her formidable adversary lacks any official bounty, clearly protected by powerful individuals. Zapan, a hunter-warrior, takes the opportunity to humiliate and belittle her efforts, resulting in a heated confrontation. Despite his taunts, Alita emerges victorious, sending Zapan hurtling across the room. She confronts him, asserting that he is unworthy of wielding the sword, a piece of Martian technology, that he carries. The skirmish sparks hostility among the other bounty hunters, prompting them to attack Alita one by one, forcing her to fight for her life and defend herself against their relentless onslaught. Dr. Ito rushes into the bar, witnessing the impending chaos, and swiftly intervenes by threatening to cease providing free repairs to the bounty hunters. He urgently seeks to speak with Alita. However, the entrance crashes open, revealing a massive figure, Grushka, who has clearly undergone significant upgrades. Using his newfound weapons, Grushka launches an assault on Alita, forcing her to temporarily retreat. Mocking her, he goads Alita to follow him as he smashes through the floor and disappears into the sewers. Determined, Alita gives chase and enters a sprawling underground structure teeming with garbage. Confronting the colossal cyborg, she unleashes a furious onslaught, attempting to break his arm with a powerful kick as before. However, her attack fails to shatter his upgraded defenses. Grushka retaliates by activating his grind cutters, compelling Alita to evade the deadly blades and flee for her life. Despite the peril, she skillfully dodges the attacks and charges forward, delivering a forceful kick to her enemy's face. Grushka's new weapon proves to be a formidable challenge, as Alita struggles to close the distance and engage her enemy. In a final daring move, she launches herself towards the colossal man, evading a barrage of cutters in her path. However, her body is ruthlessly cut into pieces before she can reach him. Grushka approaches, laughing maniacally, while Alita desperately tries to rise using her remaining arm. Summoning her last reserves of strength, she lunges at the giant, piercing him right in the eye. Grushka screams in agony, attempting to deliver a final blow to Alita. Just in the nick of time, Dr. Ito and his team arrive, launching a combined assault that forces the giant cyborg to retreat. Ito swiftly carries Alita back to his laboratory, determined to repair her using the Martian body, unwilling to see her suffer further harm in the future. The outcome surpasses expectations, as Alita displays astounding abilities upon equipping the Berserker body, even astonishing Dr. Ito himself. Meanwhile, Nova, having observed Grushka's repeated failures, devises a different approach to confront the girl. He meets with Hugo and begins probing him about Alita, offering to send him to Zalem if he can convince her to participate in the motorball games. The following morning, Hugo endeavors to persuade Alita to join the games, assuring her that they can earn enough money for both of them to ascend to Zalem. Blinded by love, Alita agrees without hesitation, placing her trust in Hugo's words. Unbeknownst to them, Zapan secretly observes their interaction, harboring a deep desire for vengeance due to the earlier humiliation he suffered at Alita's hands. Under the guidance of Dr. Ito, Alita prepares to participate in the tryouts for the tournament. The doctor expresses concern about the danger involved, urging her to exercise caution. Alita assures him that she feels confident with her new Berserker body and assures him not to worry. Meanwhile, Victor instructs all the competitors to eliminate Alita, promising a substantial reward for the one who takes her down. As the game commences, Alita becomes increasingly aware of the hostility directed towards her by the other players, sensing that something is amiss. She swiftly separates herself from the group as they begin attacking and pursuing her. Alita skillfully counters their assaults, disabling many of her opponents with remarkable agility and prowess. The relentless players continue to pursue Alita, disregarding the rules of the game, while she struggles to fend off their relentless attacks. Meanwhile, Hugo encounters Zapan, driven by his thirst for revenge against the main character. Zapan kills one of the cyborgs and intends to frame Hugo, pursuing him as a bounty is placed on his name. Desperately evading the hunter-warrior, Hugo seeks refuge on a bridge, where he contacts Alita, pleading for her assistance and informing her of his plan to escape and rendezvous with her at the church. Alarmed by his message, Alita swiftly makes her way out of the arena, still pursued by the remaining players. Despite her best efforts to elude her attacker, she is eventually captured by the relentless warriors, forcefully slammed to the ground. Alita manages to break free from the clutches of her would-be killers, resulting in the female assassin inadvertently being killed by her own teammate. Subduing the final attacker with a metal chain, she hurls him into a large grinder, tearing the robot apart. Just in the nick of time, Alita reaches Hugo and prevents the hunter-warrior from murdering her friend. However, her shock mounts as she discovers a bounty on Hugo's head. Despite his attempts to explain that he was framed, Alita finds it difficult to forgive him upon learning that he had been stealing parts from individuals like herself. Exploiting their heated argument, Zapan seizes the moment and stabs Hugo in the stomach. Alita, filled with anguish, rushes to his aid, carrying him away from the pursuing hunters as they strive to reach the sanctuary of the church. Hugo profusely apologizes to his friend, acknowledging the wrongness of his actions, regardless of the reasons behind them. Hugo confesses his love for Alita, expressing that he had intended to quit his previous plans as he realizes his feelings for her surpass his desire to go to Zalem. At that moment, Chiron arrives at their location and witnesses the couple on the floor. Moved by their profound love for each other, she has a change of heart and decides to assist them in their escape. Some time later, Alita emerges from the church carrying Hugo's head, using her own blood to keep him alive. Zapan, however, notices her actions and realizes that she is sustaining Hugo. Alita seizes Zapan's sword and slashes his face, causing him to scream in pain. She walks away from the hunters, disguising Hugo as her kill. Back at the laboratory, Ito manages to save Hugo by combining his head with a mechanical body. He reveals to Alita that Victor had been deceiving her friend all along, as only the final champion can ascend to Zalem. Overwhelmed by guilt for her friend's current predicament, Alita resolves to utilize her powers to rectify the situation and make things right. Alita storms into Victor's apartment, driven by a desire for vengeance on behalf of Hugo. However, her assault is interrupted when Grushka strikes her in the torso with his grind cutter. To everyone's surprise, Alita's body possesses the ability to self-repair, and she swiftly counters by destroying Grushka's tentacles with her sword, ultimately slicing him in half and putting an end to his life. Alita demands that Victor reveal the whereabouts of Nova. In response, Victor becomes possessed, his eyes turning blue. Nova congratulates Alita on her accomplishments and the defeat of his team, but warns her that her friends and loved ones are not as invulnerable as she is. Consumed by anger, Alita kills Victor, issuing a stern warning for him to never underestimate her. However, Nova remains unfazed, laughing in response and expressing his anticipation for their next encounter. Suddenly, Alita receives a message from Ito, informing her that Hugo has embarked on a solitary endeavor to climb the wires and reach the flying city of Zalem. Alarmed, Alita races to Hugo's location, urgently cautioning him that this is a trap orchestrated by Nova, intended to eliminate them both. Hugo explains that he feels cornered, as there is a bounty on him within the city, leaving going to Zalem as their only viable option. Before their conversation can continue, the city's defensive ring is activated, hurtling toward them at blinding speed, abruptly cutting short their interaction. Hugo attempts to leap over the oncoming defensive ring but is tragically torn apart. Alita closely follows, managing to catch him in the nick of time. However, despite her efforts, Hugo's arm begins to disintegrate. He expresses gratitude to Alita for saving his life before ultimately succumbing to his fall, leaving Alita screaming in anguish. Devastated by her friend's demise, Alita resolves to continue her journey by participating in the Motorball Games, swiftly emerging as a formidable contender for the final championship. Taking the stage, with the crowd cheering her name, Alita raises her weapon, directing her gaze towards Zalem. With unwavering determination, she proclaims her unwavering conviction to find Nova, while the enigmatic scientist observes her from the confines of the flying city. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and feel free to explore our other recaps.